When you think back to your, childhood, was there a defining moment that you decided that you wanted to become the researcher, the author, the storyteller about these significant
It's kind of a
historical?
defining period. My father was president of a small college, a poor college in Florida, so he's president by day, but then it was a denominational college, so he was, he'd go and pass the collection plate evening, so he'd have money to pay the teachers. And my mom knew that he'd done a day's work before he left home and would be likely to fall asleep at the wheel or be tired. And she figured if he sent her chatty question-asking daughter, that would keep him awake, or probably. And he used to tell me stories of, he'd point out the constellations and all, but he told me family stories and stories from African American history, especially of inventors. One time we were stopped at a stoplight in a little one-horse town that really didn't need a stoplight, and he told me about Garrett Morgan and how in cities stoplights are very important. But he'd end each story by saying, when you grow up, you should write this down. So, that's what I thought I was supposed to go up and do. And so that was, what was instrumental. And then my mom, having been from Illinois, loved it so that I think that was what focused my, interest in the history of Illinois. And so those would be the two influences.
That's great. That's great. One other question, and I was just feverishly taking notes, but
I
specifically,
saw, it's so flattering.
specifically coming back to Naperville. What are some of the key places, locations that you would recommend in terms of the significance in terms of the Illinois Underground Railroad?
Well, I feel that Paw Post Office, that it's been moved now to Naperville Settlement. Years ago, Jim Gibbons at ABC, who since died, had come out. He wanted to interview me about the Underground Railroad, and I said, well, meet me at the Paw Post Office. This is when it was still over on Jefferson. And they had a rocking chair with a rug, a little handmade rug, over a trap door, and they moved the rocking chair and moved the little rug, and then his cameraman went down the basement and pushed up the trap door from the basement, and it creaked and had good cobwebs, just really all the atmosphere. And they ran it on the Channel 7 News. But then he said the next day, two sisters called. One called and said, Mama told me that was a root cellar when their family had lived there. I guess I left that out. Their family had lived there at one time, and said, Mama told me that was a root cellar. And the other called and said, I always heard there was Underground Railroad. So it's not really known, but it had a plaque at that time that said it was Stagecoach Stop in 1850, and many of the stagecoach stops were hiding places, maybe the outbuildings, like the barns, rather than, the lodging part, where, travelers who were traveling legally at that time would have stayed. And so that would be one place. And then Dr. Augustine Smith, who really was associated with North Central, but when North Central was in Plainfield, was involved. I think he published a newspaper. I don't recall the name of it now. But as far as other buildings, those would be the main things. There are. In the book here, in Naperville Settlement gave me, or allowed me to use some pictures, which this is his house on Eola Road that I grieved about. That's since been torn down, the Strawn House, but then this is this halfway house that was between Aurora and Naperville, and then when the Blodgetts lived on the DuPage River, this story of Avis Blodgett. This is fascinating. They're talking about Downers Grove, this Avis Blodgett story. And then this is the Templeton stage route. There had been, I'd read rumors that the old brewery had been part of the Underground Railroad, but I think that was disproven. And there were a number of people. Oh, the Caroline Quarles story. Do you know that?
No, I don't think so.
She was, at that time, a beautiful young woman. This picture was taken of her much later in life, when she, some of her beauty had aged or faded. But she had gotten as far as she had escaped from St. Louis, and had gotten as far as Milwaukee, and was staying in a hotel. And someone heard the slave catchers were there and that there was a reward, and so they decided to cash in, turn her in. And so the abolitionists doubled back through Illinois. They came through Dundee and then came to Naperville, and ended up down in Will County, and then doubled back north, and she eventually did make it to Canada. So that's a story.
Okay, well, the first thing I just wanted to ask was just sort of, what was the impetus and when was the idea hashed to sort of bring this festival to Naperville?
Oh, I would say the middle of 2008. The city of Naperville allows various groups, individuals, to apply for what is known as the Seeker Grant. That's the special events and cultural amenities. So we decided as the African American Leadership Roundtable, we looked at the grant and we said, yeah, this is something we would like to apply for. So that's how it occurred.
That's great. Now, how many people were involved in sort of the planning? Three?
Three. It was three. Now, you said planning, it's various levels, but to really put the grant together, to follow the grant through, it was three people.
Right.
Juliet Allen is one, and that's Juliet there, and then Cynthia Johnson, and then I was the other person.
Wonderful.
So we sat down and brainstormed first what we would do based on the grant, and then at that point, we each came up with proposals, and then once we did that, we put it all together. And it was when the building was built that we saw the building that we decided, instead of having four small events, like 4 times a year, with about 3 hours each, we would do a weekend. So that's how this one came. That's how it came about.
That's great. Now, how long has the Roundtable been in existence?
Since 2000.
Since 2000.
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about the overall vision on what you all hope to accomplish through the festival.
Through the festival was designed for the citizens of Naperville and the surrounding area as a whole to experience the African American heritage. And it's designed so that you can get involved in it, that you can dance, because you'll get the dancers who took the workshops. They had 3 workshops with the dancers, and they will actually get to dance with them this evening. The mass choir, the community members, and they'll get to sing with Darius Brooks. Now, there are many who are, almost professionals in their own right, but then they'll also get to come together as a group as part of the gospel festival.
That's great.
And so then we had say for example, I'm sure Miss Tilly Turner, Glenette Tilly Turner, let people ask personal questions and interact with her, not just get up and lecture about the Underground Railroad and the books she's written for children.
Absolutely. And she made it very interactive. We had a little activity towards the end. It was really brought it all to life.
Yes.
That's tremendous. Well, thank you, O.C. Davenport.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.